Hi everyone, this is Amy from the Helms Academy, and today we're talking about comparing and contrasting and what that means for synthesizing in our reading and writing. So let's start with some key terms. Comparing means that we're finding similarities between two or more things, and contrasting means that we're finding differences between two or more things. So when we're making an evaluation of something, we really need to do both. We need to find the similarities and find the differences. And that work of taking two distinct pieces of writing, or it could be any form of art or a movie, when we take those different things and we combine the ideas about them together into a unique piece of our own writing, that's synthesis. We are taking those two separate ideas and making them into one coherent whole. So we're going to be using these tools whenever you're looking at a new kind of writing assignment, and specifically if you're thinking about writing the essay for the HiSET, GED, or TASC. Oftentimes they will give you a text, or two texts rather, to use, and they'll ask you to write about the subject that those texts tackle. And the text will always be on opposite ends of an argument. They will argue two different things, and you'll often have to choose which one you side more with. So the idea there is that you'll need to be able to find similarities between the two arguments, differences between the two arguments, and you'll need to be able to write using both of those arguments and having a synthesis there. So let's think about some questions to ask. If you are reading some articles like the ones that you'll need to read for the essay on this HiSET, GED, or TASC test, you might ask yourself, what is each author arguing? And how does the author prove his or her argument? So if you can identify what the author's argument is and then evidence for that, that's going to set you up for great success, because then you have a lot of the material that you'll need to return back to write your own synthesis. The next questions are, what do the two articles have in common, and where do the authors disagree? So here you're building in more synthesis. Where do you find some overlap between these two authors? Sometimes it's just the topic and they really don't agree on anything else. In the situation of the example we're going to look at shortly, we'll see that there is some overlap in what they believe about recycling. That'll be the theme. They do agree with recycling, but they have two very different ideas about how it should be implemented. And then we need to look at also at where the authors disagree, of course. So what do they have in common, but what's also different about them? And then finally, especially if you're writing this essay where you have to give information about who or what you agree with and why, you'll need to really ask yourself that question so that you can figure out where you're drawing your information from. But before you can really get to that place where you decide which side you agree with, you have to make sure you have the information about both sides from those previous questions. So what we're going to do today is take a look at two different articles that are offered with the free HiSET test online. These are available on their website, and these are two readings that go with a particular writing prompt. So if you are practicing for the essay, for that writing portion, I encourage you to really use this as a good opportunity to think about how you would respond to these two essays. And what I'm going to do now is allow you to push the pause button so that you can read through this text, and then we'll talk about the next steps. Go ahead and push pause now. All right, so when we get back into this, we see what is the author arguing and what does the author, or how does the author prove his or her point in this argument. So this particular article, we see it's about how GatesburgGoGreen, this plan, is good for the community. And how do we know that that's what they're arguing? How do they prove that? Well, they talk about reducing waste, it will require more recycling, it saves money, it improves the city budget, and it provides compost for the community. So these are my quick notes, right? Just from reading through this, these are the major themes that I saw as to why they're supporting this program. So we've tackled our first two questions. Let's look at our other reading so we can do that for this reading as well. All right, so here is reading number 2, no recycling laws for Gatesburg. And again, I'm going to invite you to push pause so that you can stop and read this before we move forward. Go ahead and push pause now. All right, so with that reading, we want to once again ask ourselves, what is the author arguing and how does the author prove his or her argument? So this particular person says that GatesburgGoGreen is not good for the community. They're saying that it criminalizes incorrect or poor recycling habits. It's an invasion of our privacy with microchips on the cans. It increases surveillance, and it creates unreasonable demands on the people. So this person, again, has given really good evidence for what their argument is. It's the opposite argument of the other person, but it still gives really, really strong supports for why. And that's something good to remember, right? No matter what we're arguing, we just have to be able to support it. It's not necessarily that the HiSET or GED or TASC wants you to argue one side and not the other. They're more concerned to see how well can you argue the side that you choose. So you can always choose the opposite of what you actually believe, and that's fine, as long as you write a good argument for it. So be creative. All right, let's take a look at the next part, which is what do these two articles have in common and where do the authors disagree? So one thing that I see in common here is that both authors actually agree that recycling is important. Now that's really good to know, because if I'm arguing, maybe one side or the other, so let's say I'm arguing for this program and I think it's a really good program, I could always say in there that I understand that some people don't like this program. However, we all agree that recycling is really important. So if we can find that common ground, it helps make our argumentative writing even stronger. And the other thing here is, where do they disagree? Well, they disagree about the degree to which the government should enforce recycling laws and intervene in this process. So that's going to be the big point of contention. So then the final question is, which author do I agree with and why? And this is where you come in and you can decide which side was better for you. And once you decide on that, it'll be a lot easier to outline your essay. And if you're not sure how to outline an essay or even how to get started on writing an essay for the HiSET or GED or TASC, I encourage you to go on our Helms Academy YouTube channel. We have multiple videos on essay writing with examples and how to outline the essay as well. So I hope that you will check those out and get that support so that you can see a little bit more about how this process takes shape and a good way to get a passing grade on your essay. Thank you so much for watching today and good luck on all of your tests. You can check out more of our videos on our channel and don't forget to give us a thumbs up and a comment if you liked this one, and you can always subscribe to get the latest updates too. You can also check out the Helms Academy on Instagram and on Facebook and at our website at helmsacademy.org.